Hello my loves, happy Friday. I'm in the office. Still early enough to be a little bit chilly down here. I've got a friend in the trees over there who's celebrating deep spring and the energies and the vibrations and the colours, the coolness of the morning and the warmth of the sun later on in the day. It's one of the little pleasures I kind of have with the videos that I record, is occasionally go through them, witnessing the change in my environment, seeing that it go from stark and bare but still beautiful to lush and full and green. And as many of you will probably know, I've arrived back from Hamburg at the beginning of this week. A beautiful, powerful, full weekend's workshop with Miriam Beck, and some incredible things happened. I arrived in Hamburg on the 1st, which is Beltane, and of course the energies of the fires of Beltane then extend. It's not just for the one day. We always get these incredible portal windows and periods of time, and some people believe that they are confined to that day, but I always see that the energies are far wider reaching, and some would say that we're still sat in the middle of it now. And the first day was beautiful and powerful and filled with the frequencies that you would expect at a gathering where we're all coming together, we're working with soul alchemy. But something rather incredible happened on Sunday, and it brought home to me why I get out of bed in the morning, why I do this job. And even after all of these years, teaching, writing, recording videos, bringing my ideas forth, witnessing the changes on this world, it's still nice to get a bit of confirmation that what you do is legitimate, and that there are no such thing as coincidences, only synchronicities. And so on the second day of our workshop in Hamburg, we were working on the energies of ancestral karma. It's not something that I've really dipped my toes into. I know it's happening for all of us, and I also know that it probably provides a significant portion of the really intense work that we do as Lightworkers, what we've brought through, our burden, our load, our backpack filled with the stones of others that walked before us. And so this meditation that Miriam brought through was very beautiful. It called forth the parents, the grandparents, the great-great-grandparents, all the way back to I believe it's the 5th generation, until each soul attending the workshop, us included, had 128 of our forebearers, those that walked before us, the lineage all the way down. And it was incredibly poignant. We could feel these energies, we could feel the presences of the people there coming forwards, saying either thank you or I need to be released, or bringing forth whatever forgiveness that they needed to. But mostly to release themselves from the cycle, from the pattern, and also to heal the hand-me-down DNA distortions, the things that we are still to this day carrying, the fear, the memories, the loads that we have within our chakras, particularly the sacral chakra. And so this meditation came, we activated it, we finished it, did a little bit more work, and then I happened to be walking back to my hotel with my translator Sylvia, who was amazing holding the energies and translating them. A lot my English, which is, you know, English and German can be quite different languages at times on a translation level. And all of a sudden a lady grabbed her in the street. We're walking through the beautiful back streets of Hamburg back to the hotel, the glorious buildings and the architecture. And for a moment I could have assumed that she was part of the workshop. She might have been a lady that was sat at the back that hadn't interacted or come forward so much. And she was very insistent, and she insisted that Sylvia looked at this alcove that was set back from the other buildings. There's two buildings joined together, but with an alcove at the back with tiny little windows and tiny, you know, like very, very limited access to the outside. And she was saying, take a picture. This is the last place that the POWs were kept at the end of the Second Great War. And all of a sudden it hit home. It hit home the gravity of the work that we were doing together that day in Hamburg. Hamburg, as many of you will know, was the last city to fall at the end of the Second World War. And she was pointing to the pavement and saying those cobbles, they were polished by the hands of the people that were here. And without going into too much details, you will know automatically what I'm talking about. And so the penny dropped immediately. Didn't need any further encouragement of what we were actually doing energetically on the day. We were releasing the collective guilt that many feel in that beautiful country, and also the happenings, the occurrences of the previous 100 years, all released from the streets, all released from the buildings, all released from the immediate astral layer right below, not just Hamburg but other parts of the country as well. And I feel very strongly that this is not just something that was occurring where I was, but it was happening around the world and still is now. This is an ongoing process, another part of our particular journey at this time. We've come to a point of vast release. It's almost like, okay, everything's on the table, everything has to come to the surface. But just for the rest of the day, we were then working, we spent the last part of the day working with crystals. Each of the souls in the workshop, when I told the story, I told what had happened when we got back after lunch. Everybody dived in, everybody got stuck in. We released what we were guided to release. Everybody was pointed towards what they felt or what their higher selves were guiding them to do. Crystals were used. As with my eyes closed, I watched almost like it looked like a bubble of magma beginning to rise up underneath the city. And when that bubble burst, all of the souls that were trapped underneath in the astral were released, and they went back to whence they first originated from, and it was beautiful. So I then saw and was told and guided that this is happening everywhere. It was part of the part of the Beltane energies, the gathering of the masters at Mount Shasta, the upcoming Wesak on the 12th. Powerful times. I think when we look back at the end of this year, we'll say there has not been a quiet month. There has not been a month where things have just like, oh, do you know what? It's nice and easy at the moment. I think I can just kick back and relax. There's something going on. And that leads me to the second part of the conversation that I wish to kind of have with my phone to you this morning. And that's about some more information that I've been given about our roles. And as many of you might have picked up, our Ascension process is a numbers game. It's a numbers game as in there are a quantity of people that have manoeuvred themselves energetically into the forefront, the position where you and I, those that are listening, are holding the light. And it's a tough job because we've had to hold so much for so long whilst doing incredible work like releasing these the karma of the ancestral lineage, just let's just say, for example, the second that we did this work on Sunday in Hamburg, everybody in the etheric and from the angelic realms were listening. They were there. It was time to let it all go. So as well as our own process holding the light, we've got that as well. You know, the responsibility of being the last holders of that baggage, the pack horses for the karma, because all of the children born after 2012, they're not carrying it anymore. It's down to us. We're the last in the line. Moving on now to what is occurring in our reality, or you might regard it as somebody else's reality. You might regard it as something that you can see almost on a TV screen that you are interacting with, but you don't actually have any part to play in it. There is the term fuse cutter was given to me, and by fuse cutter I mean, look at the look at the way that the 3D matrix is structuring the world at the moment. They're attempting to what we would regard as let off bombs. And I don't, yeah, as well as physical bombs, I'm talking about, these are energy bombs. These are bombs that have the ability to create a specific frequency and vibration, mostly to conjure up fear, to convince us that we are in need of being in survival mode permanently. It's conflict, the last trick in the box. And I knew it was coming, because it always is. It's like, right, okay, nothing else has worked. The perpetual running cycles of psyops and lockdowns and all of the other attempts to cajole an awakening, a wave of awakening back into a box again, where it's contained, it's fearful, it's not reaching out, it's not thinking for itself, the wisdom is not flowing. None of that has worked. In fact, completely the opposite. And the fires of awakening have raced around our planet to the point where it's now completely unstoppable. So I preempted this a while back and said, well, when all else fails, the final trick will be conflict. That's the one thing that gets everybody truly triggered. The thoughts of the thoughts of conflict on your doorstep. And I saw in social media that the people beginning to receive like letters from their local authorities saying, you know, prepare for it, it's coming, kind of thing. You know, like, make sure you have food and water and cash in case the ATMs go down. We've seen a 2-day blackout occurring in Portugal and Spain. I mean, all of the kind of the like the predictions, the changes, the rattlings of sabers, the bars of reality distorting, that's all occurring. That's part of the show. That's the part of the breaking down of the old aspects of our reality as we anchor in and establish the new ones. The old way of existing on this world is changing forever, but in the process of doing so, they are trying very hard to convince us that we need to be prepared for this level of change. So the term that was given to me is fuse cutters. You know, you see the sort of, it reminds me a little bit of Minecraft. You know, like you see the pack of, like, you know, like the flashing explosive sort of thing. They're just about to go off. You know, the fuse is going down. Lightworkers come in and they cut the fuse. Job done. And we do that with our frequency. We do that with our energy. What I've been shown clearly is groups of us working in cohesively to do this. So we see a situation. We understand that it needs our attention. It needs interaction. It doesn't need our emotional attachment. That's one thing that we need to be very careful of, I feel and believe, that we do not invest in these scenarios and these situations emotionally. I know we're human beings and sometimes that is a tough thing to do, but we see a situation, we observe it from the higher perspective, we follow our guidance as to what we need to do with it, and we act. Okay, so a fuse cutter is somebody who alchemizes a situation from one state of energy into another. So something's fizzing, it's boiling, it's about to go off. We go in and we cut the fuse. But one or two of us are incredibly powerful. We've known that right from the start. One person holding the actualization of their mighty I am presence has an incredible role on this world. Now there are millions of us, okay, and that's not an underestimate. You know, billions even. We're holding this frequency, this energy. We've risen now. Diana Cooper says to nearly 59% of awakened versus still kind of resisting and fast asleep. So think of the ability that we have when we operate functionally and collectively. We see a situation, we assess it, and we act accordingly. So we bring ourselves and the power that we hold into play when it's necessary. It's the same, if you will, as maybe the role of Grand Commander Ashtar, whose job it's been for since the beginning of time, certainly since the beginning before our time, where it's his role to keep the universe around us in order. Sometimes that requires action. So I feel that we are being called into action, to be aware, to begin to think about forming groups, working groups. I know a lot of us already do this. There's like incredibly powerful, very focused groups of light workers around the world who will tune into something and go, that needs dealing with, and they will do it collectively. They will do it under the law of grace, and they will do it in a way that is emotionally removed from the scenario, but acting in the highest good for all. So fuse cutting, it's an interesting term. When you see it all fizzing, when the fuse is running towards the flashing explosive, you just simply go in and snip it. No more boom. No boom. And I think we're going to get the opportunity to begin to work on that on that level now, to begin to flex towards it. Also, another a comparison for this would be when someone calls for healing. Everybody's there. Everybody's on it straight away. If you see it on social media, one of our loved ones, somebody who's well known, or someone within the light community, all it takes is one person to say this person needs healing, and they've got more than enough to last them for a couple of lifetimes coming in. So the energy becomes pooled almost. You see it, and this is one of the most effective ways of doing it, because they don't receive the direct energy coming from one person to another. It's pooled, it's mixed and merged with the other energies, and then they receive what they need when they need it at the highest level, and that's the way that it's most effective. So I can almost witness this becoming something else that we do, is start creating pools for higher peace, for higher love, for higher unity, and to be able to alchemize all of this stuff that keeps bubbling up in the reality, in the circus, so to speak. And also be aware of how this is affecting us emotionally, how we do respond to the real world scenarios that go on around us. We can pretend all we like we're detached, oh, it's not part of my reality, but there will be a part of us that responds to this, because we're human. Our feet are on the floor of this planet. You know, whether they're barefoot, whether we've got shoes on, we've got to walk through our shared reality together. Everything affects everything, and our nervous systems are responding to this constantly. And that brings me on to the little plug that I'm going to do for my Sunday night Ascension. My Sunday night Ascension club, I'm working on Sunday night with core fear removal, and this is a term that was coined first of all by Dr. Joshua David Stone, my beloved guide. Core fear removal is going to be we are going to be working on Sunday night with removing those old triggers, that core fear that still kind of shouts loudly within the systems of us all. Maybe it's the inner child needs comforting, maybe it's something that's been wired into our circuits, maybe it's something that we've carried from Atlantis. But if you would care to join me on Sunday night, we will be getting down to the nitty-gritty of what triggers us off when we sometimes don't even realise that it's doing it, and enabling us to actually move through this process with grace, with ease, with focus, with commitment, and do the job in a flowing, smooth and cohesive way. So my loves, that's it from me today. A little tale of Hamburg, and also the term fuse cutters. We are required to do this job, to go about the world lovingly cutting the fuses of things that have been lit by those that are not feeling quite so loving at this time. From my heart to yours, love you lot. See you on Sunday night. Bye for now.